I'm not sure about all of you, but I've come to terms with the fact that Amber and Arabella are clearly smarter than me, but the fact that they're both taller than me adds insult to injury. Unlike many of the tales you have heard tonight and some of the videos that these guys have online, my story is not only unremarkable, but if I was honest, it's a little bit boring. But where it gets interesting is the mistakes I've made and the faux pas along the way. And in my mind, 3 of my better mistakes have led to 3 of my better lessons. The first was committed in 1997. I was 12. When we were at manual, or technology as they now call it, I used to watch this blind kid get picked on at school all the time, and it used to absolutely infuriate me. On one occasion, this group of 2 young boys had taken his white stick or his cane, and were having a bit of a laugh watching him try to get from A to B. And what at the time felt like a moment of sheer bravery, I wrestled the cane off these boys and started to essentially beat them with it. As you can imagine, this drew quite a crowd, including the teacher on duty at the time. She promptly escorted me to the principal's office, and he promptly called my parents. At the meeting, the principal turns to my parents and says, "We've had an incident today where Fiona appears to have stolen a cane off a blind student and attacked 2 others with it." What ensues is 15 minutes of me going, but the conclusion of the meeting was that I was suspended from manual for the rest of the term. Upon getting back home, I was finally given an opportunity to provide my version of events. Dad just kept saying, "We know, I know," until I eventually exclaimed, "Well, why didn't you tell the principal? Why didn't you let me tell the principal?" To which he replied, "Fiona, don't you hate manual? Sometimes you are best to hear the outcome before you jump up and down." Which brings me to mistake and lesson number 2. So I'm jumping now to 2011. Now, I'm not saying I didn't make any mistakes between 1997 and 2011, but if I list any of those, my partnership at Neave may be over before my 4 minutes. For the majority of people in Christchurch, 2011 was the year that their life changed because of the earthquake. For me, it will always be remembered as the year where I was not promoted from a solicitor to a senior solicitor. So here we were at a firm breakfast, and promotions were being read out, and to my horror, my name was not read out. Now, I'm not sure about the other woman in this room, but when you get news that is upsetting or disappointing, you spend the first 30 seconds going, "Don't cry, don't cry, don't cry." What follows is, "Don't kill anyone, don't kill anyone, don't kill anyone." So on the car ride back to the office, I made the decision that I was going to have it out with my supervising partner as soon as we got back at the office, okay? The problem is at that point I was still at the don't cry, don't murder stage, okay? So I was using such compelling arguments as, "How did you not know I wanted to be promoted?" Okay? As you would imagine, Andrew at this point didn't say, "You're right, it's an absolute outrage you weren't promoted, let's have a firm breakfast in your honour." So, as a result, I was left with my only resource, and that was the good old-fashioned storm out, okay? At our premises post-earthquake, there was one door that led to the car park, okay? Perfect storm out conditions, all right? But I was so worked up that I went out the door that led to Russley Golf Course. Now, as you know, once you've done a storm out, you can't turn around. You've just got to keep on walking, okay? A quarter of Neave then had the privilege of watching me storm across Russley Golf Course. And to this day, they don't know where I was heading. Ladies, from that day, the 24-hour rule was born, okay? Whenever I am annoyed, whenever I am frustrated, I always sit on it for 24 hours. There are 2 reasons for that. 1, your position always comes out clearer the next day. Secondly, 1 embarrassing walk across a golf course is enough to last me a lifetime. And lastly, number 3, which has already been touched on this evening, but end of 2013 I made the move from Christchurch to Auckland. I wasn't ready to leave Neave, but I was ready to leave Christchurch. I took a role with a small employment law firm up here, and I picked them because they paid the most and they had the nicest people. That's all I could judge it on. In summary, it was the longest 9 months of my life. Me being in that firm was like trying to get a square peg in a round hole, okay? I tried, they tried, we just couldn't get it to fit. 6 months into the role, I was at my parents' complaining about my job and saying all I wanted was Neave, but in Auckland. Dad did the whole, well look, you can't have it all speech, you need to choose. And a part of this may be because I was still pissed off at him at the 1997 incident, but I thought, no, look, maybe I can have it all. After a conversation with the Neave partnership and a bit of overselling of myself, if I was completely honest, as you've heard, Neave Auckland was born January 2015, and as we talk right now, there's about 25 of us. And my lesson from that, and if it's the one thing you take home this evening, that is if you don't ask, you just don't get. Thank you.